It's gonna be good, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be better, I can't wait. Making my move, live for the day, sing like a bird, fly like a plane. Come spill with me, Jenny D.
Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Spill With Me, Jenny D. It is 2026. We're in February now. We're really concentrating this month on love journey and life journey. And I'm just so excited to have my guest here. But before I get into that, I would like to thank my spotlight supporters for February, Bareskin and Laser with owner Jody Rapepi and Sharon St. Clair with Howard Hanna, who is here today. And Sharon and I have had a few episodes already that we recorded, but we really wanted to sit down because Sharon has taken a different direction, and she wants to kind of explain to us what she's doing and exactly like why she made the change. So we're just so excited, and I'm just so thrilled to have Sharon here. Sharon, introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers.
Hi, my name is Sharon St. Clair, and Jenny, it's an honor to be here. I'm with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services in the Upper St. Clair office, which is where we are having the privilege of filming today.
Yes, thank you. It's beautiful here. And I appreciate you taking the time because, I always tell Sharon this. I feel like for me, I'm like the real estate dummy because I don't know a lot about it. And if you've been living in your house for a long time or you kind of don't know what's going on in the market or what to expect and who to hire as your agent. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, Sharon, but first, I really want to know, you were a real estate agent for Keller Williams. I saw Marshall St. Keller signs, all over. So why did you decide and leave and come to Howard Hanna?
Jenny, that's a great question. How I came to Howard Hanna, which is a wonderful story. There is a very well-known and respected real estate attorney in Pennsylvania who I've had the privilege and pleasure of knowing professionally and being friends with for many years. And knowing the Hanna organization, he recommended and connected me with the Hanna family. And in doing so, I quickly realized in talking with the family that our core values very much aligned. And the Hanna family, they actually have a lot of attorneys in the family, which they immediately understood my background as a former practicing attorney, that it really lined up and how it could be an asset, not only to the clients and to the organization, but to the community at large, and some of the programs and initiatives that Hanna brings to the table. So Hanna is an organization, which for me was a very important factor. Hanna is an organization, it started in Pittsburgh. Actually, they're coming up on their 70th anniversary this year.
I cannot believe that.
And it is one of the largest brokerages in the United States. They are 15,000 agents strong. But this is the interesting thing that was really important for me. Out of all of the real estate companies, they are the only company to be headquartered in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And they do business in multiple states. Number one in Pennsylvania, number one in multiple states like New York and other areas where they practice. But when I looked at the other brokerages, they might be headquartered in California, they might be headquartered in New York, and they have offices here.
Right.
Howard Hanna has been an integral part of this community, and they are very focused on preserving and, really elevating.
Right. It's like a hometown feel.
It's a hometown feel, and they're very involved in charitable initiatives with the Children's Hospital and the Chow Chow and just the camaraderie and the culture. So for me, it was very much an alignment to core values, and even though that it is a massive organization at this point, it is still family owned. So it's the largest family owned brokerage in the United
I
States.
can't believe that. You educated me on that. When Sharon told me that, I said, I never really knew that. You know, living in Pittsburgh all my life, you know, I never really paid attention to that. But hearing from that, I'm just in like, wow, 70 years.
70 years. And I was
So they
driving.
went go generation after generation and they just keep
I
it.
think that they're, they are several generations in and going strong.
I love it.
And it is a family feel. So it is for me, because I came from Wall Street. I
Right.
love the fact that it's family owned and family driven. So Main Street competes with Wall Street. And I'll
Yes.
take that any day, all day long, and twice on Sunday.
I love it, Sharon. So now that you explained to us a little bit about, why you made the move and you
Mhm.
align with them, you don't just sell houses. You understand contracts as an attorney level. How does your legal background help your clients? Because I'm not sure some of the new listeners that are listening right now, Sharon, tell them a little bit about your background as far as in the legal department.
So my background, simply stated, is that I'm a former practicing attorney. I was counsel to a regional stock exchange that was acquired by NASDAQ. And I came back to Pittsburgh years ago for family reasons. There was no stock exchange in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And so that's not a practice that I could replicate. What I love about real estate as an asset class is 4 times the size of the stock market. And it is, far less efficient. But, when I always say that what we are doing is we are moving money. And it's typically a very large decision for someone to make, and it's not something.
Absolutely.
It's a very large purchase, whether you're buying or selling. And so we're moving money, but we're managing emotions, and it's very personal to people. It's a very personal asset, so the impact is very real. Now, having a legal background, and I always say this, is the scope of my representation is strictly that as a real estate agent. I never practiced in real estate, so I'm not a real estate attorney. And again, my role is an agent. With that said, understanding when you go to hire, whether you are hiring an agent or whether you are hiring an attorney, skilled and experienced representation matters. You have a tactical and strategic advantage when you make that decision to hire. Because as a fiduciary, and that's really important, especially if you've been reading all of the headlines, all of the changes happening in the world and in real estate, understanding fiduciary duties, being a full faith fiduciary. This is what I
was
do
going to
full
say, I know
time.
Sharon's using
Yes.
big words for me.
Yes. But that means that I
Fiduciary.
have a
I can
responsibility to you and you alone as a client.
Right. And, explain that a little bit about being a fiduciary. I can't even say it.
A fiduciary. Yes, that's okay.
It
No,
doesn't
it's a
come off my
fiduciary.
tongue like that.
Yeah, it doesn't flow. I get it. So as a fiduciary, when you hear, do you ever hear the expression dual agency?
Yeah, well, I'm learning.
Okay.
I'm learning.
So-
That's why I'm so glad I'm friends with Sharon, because I'm learning so much from her.
So dual agency basically means that you represent a buyer and a seller in a real estate transaction. Dual agency is legal. I am not a person who practices dual agency. And the reason I do not practice dual agency is because I am very much not just an advisor, but I'm an advocate. And I never want someone to question which team that I really played for.
Yes.
And so a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. I recently worked with a seller, and they were looking to put their house in the market, and they had interviewed, some agents. And one of the agents said, "Hey, don't worry about this. I've got your buyer too." That is what we call dual agency. When you come in and you represent the buyer and you represent the seller. And so in that situation, we were talking, and I said, I don't do dual agency, and I explained the reasons why. And the client, was thinking about that, and he said, "Well, what happens to that buyer?" And I said, "You know what? I'll reach out to that agent, and if they have the buyer, that's wonderful. Bring that buyer. We can still represent you.
Right.
And they can bring whoever they want. They can come unrepresented. They can bring an agent. They can bring an attorney. They can bring anybody they want to the party. It does not matter to me. We'll take them on the field, however they choose
Right.
to, come on to the field. With that said, it came into pricing, and this became really important because we talked about pricing, and apparently this particular, one of the agents had priced this property 12% lower. Now, I want you to think about that.
12%.
If you are pricing that property lower, you are going to bring in a much greater buyer pool. But if you represent both sides, think about who wins in that situation. The agent wins because they're going to collect 2 fees. But how does that seller win in losing,
goodness.
let's say, $60,000 in profit?
That is so true.
Because they just basically had a suppressed price that they didn't need to have necessarily, and that's before negotiations.
Right.
So how did they win?
It's like a win-win for them if you think about it, because
it's a very easy way. It just makes it very easy for someone to come in and say, oh yeah, we can just let's price it down here, and I can bring in that buyer. That makes it easier for the buyer. But where at the end of the day,
right,
you're giving up profit. I don't know about you. I go to work very hard. I work a lot of long hours. I work 7 days a week, and I love what I do. But I don't like to give away money that I don't have to give.
Don't think
I'm saying
does.
fair, but once again, and another example of dual agency, and I'll put this out there.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that too, Sharon.
Absolutely. And by the way, in that particular instance, we set a record in the community. And I had noticed that what I saw were some lower values. And I kept thinking, why are these values lower? I think they should be higher. So we ended up raising that market price point, which I'm really happy about.
Were they using the same buyer? Is that why?
No, they were using, let's say if they're using, let's say an agent, did a lot of business there, but, maybe the values, let's push the values up if we can.
Right.
If I'm a seller, I want the best possible terms and the most amount of money in the shortest window of time. How do I accomplish that?
Right.
My job is not to make that decision. My job as a fiduciary is to sit down and give you options, because you and I are going to be working together. Jenny and I are not just friends. We also have a professional relationship.
Yes, pretty soon.
So we're going to be sitting down and we're going to go through and we're going to have a menu of options. My job is to understand what those options are. Your job is to be able to make that decision. And then my job is to understand what can happen and to be able to problem solve anywhere along the way, so that, again, in football terms,
right,
representing you as a seller, we're playing defense. Representing you as a buyer, we're playing offense.
You can't be on both sides.
But you can't be on both sides, as Jenny knows, as a mother of a very
player.
well-loved and well-respected player. So you really can't play both sides. You have to pick which side of the field that you're on. It doesn't mean that we're not going to go to the same goalpost at the end when we come together.
Right.
And it's in our collective and collaborative interest to do so. But understand where your interests are.
And it makes so much sense, Sharon. It's coming from someone who doesn't know real estate a lot. And there's probably other people out there listening. When you come to that, milestone or whatever you want to say in your life, and you decide, you know what, I need to downsize. For me now, learning that, Sharon was talking about the dual agency. I know that Sharon will have my best interest in mind. When I say, Sharon, I want to sell my home. But then she knows I'm looking for another home, but it's going to be downsizing, but maybe new construction. Not sure yet. We're still in kind of like talking about it. So then I know, okay, then Sharon is going to be my person who is going to help me sell my house to where the worth that it's worth.
Right.
And
meet your goals, because goals are not just money.
Right.
Goals can be convenience. Goals can be, some people are willing to trade an outcome for dollars.
Right.
Okay. Not everyone has the same goal, but understanding what you're looking to accomplish and when you're looking to accomplish that, again, being prepared.
Right.
That's the key. It's called positioning. And I'm asked to speak to agents across the United States, top agents, and we talk about the art of positioning. This is not a cookie cutter situation. And that's where when we talk about artificial intelligence entering, into our world, this is not something, artificial intelligence is good at crunching data, large amounts of data. But what do we do with the information and how do we make that work for the people involved?
Right.
That is extremely important.
Right.
And so
I want Sharon
understanding
on my side.
what your goal, what your
Yes.
goals are. And then we take information and we take parties because this is still a very personal process. And there's a lot of people that are involved in this behind the scenes.
Becomes overwhelming,
Yeah.
to the seller, knowing that, because Sharon knows it's sentimental to me. This is where my children were born in my home. But, as they leave the nest, you realize, what, it's not the home, it's the people that are in the home. And, for me, I'm ready. I'm at that point now where it's just a lot of work, it's the yard work, it's the housework, and we're not utilizing all the rooms that we have. So I'm so thankful to have Sharon because Sharon is going to really help us through this process. And it's just not like, okay, let's put the for sale sign out in the yard. We're good to go. I'll talk to you later. We'll see if anybody wants to buy. No, there's a lot, like she said, that goes into it. And I don't want to sit at a table and have Sharon representing me and representing the buyer or, being able to negotiate so that you can. So I'm so glad that you have cleared that up about dual agencies. I love that.
I think that's an important.
It's important to know.
And again, it is legal and it is done. But
yes.
when you hire an agent, just like when you're hiring an attorney, I'm not a judge. I'm not impartial sitting in a courtroom. I am an advisor and an advocate representing one side, a fiduciary duty to one side at all times. So every conversation, every communication, every thought, every decision is designed for that client's best interest.
Right. And Sharon brings so much to the table. I mean, you have a background in legal and things like that. So to me, I feel like you would be the best person that fits for us. Now, as far as when we were talking about I am saying this because I know about Sharon. She set record-breaking sales in multiple neighborhoods. What do you do differently that allows your listings to achieve those results?
I think that when we're looking at real estate is not cookie cutter.
Right.
Every situation is different. Every property is different. Every buyer and seller is different. And I never know what team is going to be brought into the transaction. Who's going to raise their hand? If I'm representing you as a seller, I don't know who your buyer is going to be.
Right.
And I don't know who they're going to bring to the party called a transaction. What agent, what inspector, what lender, what title. I mean, there's a lot of different parties that can come in and affect a real estate transaction.
Right.
So with that said, it is called positioning. Now it's kind of like getting on a plane. Best way to say it. When you get on a plane, you're going from, let's say, Pittsburgh to Florida, and you're trusting that pilot is going to get you there safely because you have literally put your life in that pilot's hands.
Yeah, you do.
You're counting on the fact that they know that hopefully it's all sunny skies when we get up on the plane. But what if we experience some turbulence? You want to know that pilot has had experience and can fly in storms. Real estate's the same way, except our journey has consequences beyond getting you from Pittsburgh to Florida on a 2-hour flight.
Right.
The decisions that we are making in a real estate transaction, whether we're working with you as a buyer or working with you as a seller, I know from experience that those very small decisions are going to have a very big cumulative effect because we are moving money. And when we're talking about houses, this is a lot of money ultimately that we are moving.
Right.
Okay. And the
this
decisions,
is long term.
It's a long term
investment.
And so you should drive up and you should love the house that you're coming home to. But I know realistically, you're probably going to have a bank loan. And you're going to pay for that for years to come. And it should be the right decision for you.
It's so true.
And so, for example, when we talked about dual agency, and this happened not too long ago. So when a bank issues a loan, they have what they call an appraisal. That basically says this is what they feel the house to be worth because this is what they're willing to lend on it. Well, I represented a seller. And the contract that we negotiated, the bank came back and said, we're not going to lend on that contract. We feel that that contract is $75,000 higher than what we feel the home is worth, and hence what we're willing to lend on. Now, I represented seller. So that means that we have some decisions to make. If I represented buyer in that situation, what do you think? If I represented both the buyer and the seller, what do you think would have
Oh,
happened?
you would listen to the bank and say, okay, let's drop it.
Well,
right?
I mean,
because you want to sell the house.
Again, that puts me in a very difficult position, because if I represent a buyer, I'm happy that just came in 75,000. I'm
Right.
like, yes, let's go.
Yes.
Okay.
We can afford these.
Yeah.
The buyers can afford it.
We're going to take a different track. If I represent a seller, I'm like, oh, they're giving us.
Yeah, that's
So,
a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
But it doesn't matter to me, whether it's 3,000, 30,000, or 75,000. It matters to that person. Doesn't matter. I mean, money matters to people.
Right.
And in that situation, the way we solved, again, and I'm glad I wasn't involved in dual agency, is we were able to close that house at $75,000 higher. We closed that house to the contract that I negotiated for that seller.
How?
Well, that's where having some of the experiences that I had.
Yes.
I was able to get to the right people. I was able to offer some effective challenges through the appraisal process, and we were successful. But I've been in these
Sharon,
situations on a numerous basis. Like before I came to see you today, I was on the phone with the president of a national lender who's going to have to talk to legal, and we're going to have that conversation, and dealing with 2 title companies and 3 contractors. So every day is different. Every client's different. Every house, every situation's different. You might have different goals than your neighbor.
Right.
You cannot treat things as a cookie cutter. No 2 snowflakes are alike.
Right, because for instance, in our neighborhood, we'd be like, oh my gosh, what did they sell their house for? Well, then I guess we could probably get our house for more because we have 4 garages and they have 3. There's things that, as a consumer, I guess a consumer, not a consumer, a homeowner would think, but you really don't know until you sit down with an expert like Sharon St. and you find out, okay, wait a second. There's so many factors. There's so many things. Your house is not going to be, like you said, cookie cutter. I love that. It's not going to be the same as your neighbor's house. You have different things.
It's called the art of positioning. You have to know where you stand in reality.
Right.
Again, there are goals. Okay.
Right.
So we have to figure out what those goals are and how do we best reach them. In the art of positioning, we're going to analyze what the options are. And how do we strengthen you, whether you're strengthened as a seller or whether you're strengthened as a buyer? And if there are some issues, some challenges, how do we manage that? How do we solve for it, and how do we manage it?
And I'm, and for me too, this is why I'm just, so excited to have Sharon be partnering with me with this, because, I know I'm in good hands because she is looking at my best interest. She is looking for us to get the best value out of our home that we built 26, almost 26 years. It'll be in May. 26 years ago.
You have a lot of memories there, don't you?
And we were in our 20s. And if you think about it too, Sharon, sometimes, when somebody builds a home, brand new home, you don't really know, oh, I like this, give me this, my kitchen. There's so many things now that I've evolved and hit those milestones in my age that I know I'm like, oh, I wish I had this now. So that's why I'm excited for that next step. I'm excited to, put this money that we get from our beautiful home that somebody else is going to be able to enjoy. Yeah. That we're going to be able to use those funds to have our own custom, maybe patio home or wherever we decide to live. And then I know that I'm in good hands with Sharon.
Jenny, this is the thing that's so beautiful. You have lived in this home. You've raised your family in this home. You've created memories in this home. And don't forget that. So there's the emotional side, and then there's a side that the home is an asset. Okay. Now we're just going to enjoy and we're going to embrace those memories. And you're going to take that with you no matter where you go. And you're going to basically turn over that home with a pride of ownership so that the next people that come through the front door and drive home every day, that they can have amazing memories in that home for their future. That's a beautiful thing.
It's so true. You're right, Sharon. When you think about memories, the memories are not, what did they say? They're in your mind.
Yes.
It's not about like the bedroom set or the chandelier that I ordered. Now, okay, so this is something that I wanted to know too,
Yeah.
Sharon, and I'm sure there's other people that want to know about this. So you use a top tier like photographers, and you bring in stagers,
Correct.
consultants.
Correct.
Even though you've trained as a stager yourself, why is the outside perspective so important?
So we're bringing in a team. So when I came over to Hanna, I still have the full service concierge. So I still have a group of everyone that has been vetted as contractors. And we live in a very visual world. So we want to use top photographers. I have stagers and designers. So whatever is needed for that home, whether you're buying or selling, I never see a space in a before. I always see a space in an after.
I love that.
And we transform spaces to make it work for the person, because a house should always work for you. You should not have to work for a house. And so that's why I like to bring in these different perspectives. And I already know, like, for example, I had a photo shoot with one of my clients that I've worked with, and they're wonderful. They're like you. And it was, I got back the pictures, and, we did some filming and we did some photography. And I said, wait a second, I think we're missing this angle on, this area. And I want to capture this a little bit differently, because again, we are conveying in pictures.
Right.
Where we're connecting with people and giving them a roadmap of what they can expect to live in. And that should never be, in my opinion, it should always be a very accurate reflection. You should always arrive and it should look as good, if not better, in person than it does in the pictures.
Oh, that's so true. And you want to look at the pictures before you go,
Absolutely.
or you want to go to the open house and make sure you can see,
right,
exactly what it looks like. But it's so true. When I do see the pictures that you have done on your homes, they're gorgeous. And I didn't even realize that you want to take out all your like family photos and things like that, right? You don't really.
So so what we do is we come in, and when our stager comes in, we're going to have a meeting and a consultation, just like where we do with other aspects of the real estate, with this process. But they're going to come in and give you a very very detailed roadmap of exactly what it is that we need to do, and whatever resource any home needs, we can bring that resource into the home.
Right.
If we need to bring in staging, if we need to bring in contractors, concierge, if we need whatever we need, so that we can really, what I call, position that home to put your best foot forward, because that's what we're talking about doing.
And it's so true, because sometimes, as a seller eventually selling my home, I see some clutter. And I feel like when Sharon and her team come in, they'll be able to put that clutter and put me at ease, so I don't feel, because you look at your house differently than if somebody would go in and you're like, oh God, don't look at this area, it looks so bad. And you may go in there and go, Jen, I've been in millions and millions.
Never. So I want you to, okay, Jenny, I want everyone to hear this. Jenny, I am not there when I come to your house.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care. I see houses in all stages, form, size, and it does not matter to me. I am not looking at what I'm seeing. I'm looking at what we're going to create when we go to the market. That is what's the important part of that. So don't worry about it.
That,
just be you.
I know. And
we'll figure it
Sharon
out.
and I've talked about this off air, that, it's not about like she doesn't go in there and judge.
No,
she's in there for you. She is your advocate. She is your friend. She is your partner. She is there to help you along this.
I want you to win.
Yes.
I want you to succeed.
I want my team to win, Sharon.
Absolutely. And you will win, Jenny.
I'm hoping so. So, when we talk about, well, we were talking about this at one point too. Less expensive homes, are they less complicated to sell? Like, you know, I think about that because I think I have driven past my house that we had before we had kids.
Mhm.
And I looked at that house. I'm like, oh, there's no maintenance. It seemed like it was maintenance free or this or that. But if for less expensive homes, are they less complicated for you to sell? Like, is there a difference?
So I'm going to say that no, it does not. In
Matter the
any
size, huh?
situation, no. Price does not necessarily indicate level of complexity.
Mm.
You cannot take anything for granted in housing at any price point. You have to understand that every situation is unique.
Right.
And just because it's less expensive doesn't mean it's going to be a walk in the park and easier. Sometimes people think, because, you know, I work in the luxury market, I work in all price points, and they think, oh, well, my house isn't that difficult because it's a less expensive home.
Right.
That may not be the case. Actually, your house may be more complicated.
Oh.
It can actually be the flip of that.
Okay.
Okay. And the decisions that we make, because again, we are moving money, our margins are different.
Mm.
Okay. We have to be very strategic in how we are making decisions, because if you are going to do things, are you going to get that money back? What's going to be the ROI?
Right.
I just had people come to me 2 days ago and they were talking about making changes. And I said, let's talk about what the goals are before you make them. Because if you're intending to stay, great. And if it's for you, great. But if your intention is to hold this for X window of time, we really need to think about, is that the best way to approach this? What are your options in that moment? Again, to get that ROI.
That's true.
Yeah.
Return on investment.
Where's the money best spent?
Yes, because we just got a new roof. Was it 2 years ago?
Mhm.
So we were thinking, because we're thinking in our mind, eventually we're going to sell our home. So we should put that investment in there, getting a new roof now. So we wouldn't have that problem of like, oh my gosh, guess what? You need a new roof, and all of a sudden you're spending all this money on a new roof.
And the thing about a roof is it can change, and it is to the outside of the home.
Right.
So I just had a roofer today. Ironically, you say this. I just had a roofer at my own home today.
No way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, because I'm doing insurance. Yeah. So I'm doing, I'm getting some insurance quotes. And so I had a roofer there at the house today. A roof, you can have a change of condition at any point. Look at the storms we have. Look at the winds we have.
The winds.
So again, we take every situation, and it is not cookie cutter. And we make decisions, and those small decisions and they add up to have a very big impact. And we just have to be mindful of
right.
that.
And Sharon's a homeowner too, so she gets it. It's not
absolutely.
Like
yeah.
It's not like
yeah.
So I have one last question for you.
Of course.
Do you like real estate or Wall Street better?
So
it sounded like which one you like better, baby?
It's so funny because somebody just asked me that recently. I was just talking to a builder who's been in Pittsburgh for decades, and he was asking me because he was wanting to work with me, and he said, Sharon, what do you like better? Because did you like Wall Street better or real estate? And for me, that's a really easy answer. I think real estate is, for me, an amalgamation of my life experiences, because inside of the boardroom of Wall Street, you're moving a lot of zeros. You know that it's going to have an impact because it does affect the national markets, and that affects everyday people. Mm-hmm. But I know I don't meet those everyday people.
Right.
It's really done at an institutional level. Real estate is a direct impact. And so when I have
direct impact,
it is very gratifying, because I know the decisions that we make in this process are going to affect people for years to come. And I just had a client last weekend, and she said to me, came back to Pittsburgh, and she said, thank you for helping me get back here. And thank you for helping me get settled. And to see the joy of the decision that she and her family are making, and to see the smiles on everyone's face. I can't even
It's
tell you.
impersonal.
Oh.
You're interacting with people. So the difference with real estate, in Wall Street, you're actually
It's
one-on-one.
The decisions that we make affect the quality of life that people are going to live for years to come. And that is a very powerful motivator for me.
I love it, Sharon. Sharon, thank you so much for just taking the time. She educates me so much off the air. So I thought, you know what, we have to bring Sharon on a couple of times a year because she really knows her stuff. And if you are a professional or a profession or an expertise at something, like I know I can do a podcast. And I know Sharon is the one for me to help me sell my home. And I just appreciate, is there anything else you would like to tell the listeners or viewers today?
Well, you know what, as you think about what you want to do with your home and, does the home fit your needs? Start to ask yourself some questions. But if you need an independent voice, give me a call. I'm happy to help.
How would they get a hold of you, Sharon?
Yeah, you can give me a call directly at 724-503-0014.
Okay. What about an email?
And it is Sharon, Sharon, St. Clair, same spelling as Upper St. Clair, and I'm with the St. Clair office, the Upper St. Clair office, team, TEAM, @gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And I just
Sharon.
hope that you just, as you move forward, that you enjoy your home. It should be that haven in the storm. It should be where on this, we're in the middle of, we're going to come into spring here soon. But right now we're all kind of inside because it's a little chilly out there.
Right. Especially Pittsburghers. That's where we're at.
Enjoy your home. Enjoy the beauty of it. But don't let your home be something that is daunting for you. Or, if you have a challenge or a question, there are resources to help you. So feel free to reach out anytime.
You put me at ease. And what do we always say, Sharon?
Live your best life.
So you will be hearing more with Sharon St. Clair throughout the year and some tips. And if you have any questions or anything
anytime,
you need,
just give us a call.
Yeah, just give us a call here and I will get you in contact with Sharon St. Clair with Howard Hanna.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me with another episode of Spill with Me, Jenny D. Take care.
Come spill with me. Come spill with me. Come spill with me.